Hey, and welcome to another edition of the Wake Up Late with Dougie show. I am your host, Dougie Almeida, coming to you from Greenville, South Carolina, where I'm blending in. Great show for you today, and some great topics. Hope you're doing well and ready for some entertainment. What do you think about that, huh, kiddos? Anyway, without further ado, let me bring my friend and fellow comedian on the show, ladies and gentlemen, Ahmed. What's up? What's up, Ahmed?
How are you?
Good, buddy. So you're in Cali right now, right?
I am. I'm up in I'm up in Palm Desert at the moment.
Palm Desert.
Yeah, my my buddy owns a home up here that he Airbnbs out to people for a month at a time, and he's a developer, architect. Excuse me, got a sore throat. So I just came up with him to just get at a second properties, and I was like, "Yeah, I'll come with you."
Cool.
So I'm
You know,
here.
a lot of people are doing that, man. They're not even bother buying houses. They're just renting places 2, 3, 4 months at a time, and then going to another place. It's kind of like a gypsy like effect. It's not may not be too bad of an idea.
Yeah, I mean, it seems like right now, if you're traveling a lot, Airbnb is kind of the way to go. If you have a family and kids that are in school, that's probably a different scenario. But
Yeah, it'd be kind
yeah,
of hard to it would be kind of hard to reinst. Kids, you're gonna get out of school this month. Gonna go to a new school. It's just halfway across
right,
the country. I got a great Airbnb deal. You'll love it.
right,
It's right next to a
right.
waterfall. A waterfall. I mean, anything. That should be a commercial. That should be a commercial for Airbnb. So aside from that, how you been, man? You're keeping busy, dude. One of the things I was just talking on another podcast. We were talking about oh god, I'm blanking on his name. Um, one of the football players who's now he's in the pot business. He has his own weed and shit. You know, it's Ricky Williams, your former running back of Ravens and the
Yeah.
Dolphins. Now he's running in,
Hmm.
you know, and to me, survivability, being able to adapt and handle adversity is what differentiates the leader from just the putz. And during the pandemic and all that shit, you were one of those guys who fucking stuck it together in California where hardly anything was open, and you figured out a way to bring comedy, and keep people working. You want to talk about that a little bit?
Yeah, I mean, I feel you definitely one of the hardest working comedians out there right now. Just kind of being your own hustler in this industry and game these days is the way to go. Unless you're a big name comic or you're like a huge TikTok sensation or social media influencer or YouTuber, it pretty much goes like big name comics, social media, YouTubers, and then like if you have an agent, right? Even if it's
Right.
like a mid-level agent, somebody who's calling on your behalf every day trying to get you booked. Agents will make probably I don't know, 50, 100 emails and phone calls a week, sometimes more for their clients. But if you don't have that, you're forced to kind of just do it on your own. And that's what I know you do.
Yeah.
And that's what I do. I'm constantly just pounding the phones and emails trying to get bookings. I mean, I'll call or email, say, 50 clubs a week. I might get 10 responses and, two bookings out of it.
Right.
So being your own salesman is kind of like the way to do it. During the pandemic, to go back to your point, yeah, nothing was going on. California was shut down. All the clubs in LA closed. And I mean, I wasn't working the clubs anyway. So it was like, might as well
Mm.
just kickstart my own party. And that's what I did. I found outdoor venues in Venice Beach, Huntington Beach. They actually found me, the one in Huntington Beach. And comics were in stock. I mean, everybody was in town doing nothing. So I managed and was able to get, Bill Burr and Tiffany Haddish and
Yeah.
Jeff Ross and Craig
Yeah.
Robinson. And I mean, the list
Great
goes
names.
on with really big comics who were like, yeah, I'll come do your show. And some of them, they got paid, a couple $100. Some of them, they got paid, more.
More.
So,
They got paid more. It's a little higher. Just a little bit more.
but but yeah, it was like one of the. But see, now that the pandemic is not necessarily over, but it's,
Right.
things are kind of back to normal again, and a lot of the comics that I was booking during the pandemic are not available now. Their agents are blocking them from doing my shows. Um, they're working on movies or TV shows or whatever.
Right.
So I could still get really good comics. They're just not as famous as the ones I mentioned. So it's unfortunately it's hard to sell tickets if people like to affiliate fame with success,
Right.
and there is a sense of success there, but are they funny as the up and coming younger comics or the people that have been in the game a long time? I mean, sometimes no. You
Yeah.
know, um, yeah,
But you know what? The idea of a showcase, it's like, I produce shows, and for the most part, they're a headliner, the traditional opener, an MC, middle, and a headliner. And but you could see that, because when no one had work, everybody, I'll take it, that or get in front of a camera and do a Zoom show, So you're right, and there's advantages you take advantage of. I lived in Florida, and a lot of all my rooms are there. So the fact that people are in Florida isn't a bad thing. You got to come to Florida, So you want to do some
yeah,
shows. Oh, great, kind of helps that booking out because people say you came done shows. I've had everybody coming to do shows at one
yeah.
local other booker called a Pizza Hut, a pizza room with a back room or something. A pizza stand with a back room, like referenced our Tavolino's gig. But nevertheless, you do it.
Which was a
You
great
have this.
gig.
Yeah, I mean it's a fucking fun room. But the idea of a showcase, like you're right. Like, listen, who hasn't gone to a show of somebody? Oh, I saw this person on TV. I can't wait to see him. And then they're like, what the fuck? You know, this person's not even funny. I don't want to hear about all these stupid stories. You know, uh, that's why I think there's so much talent out there. You could put together a showcase and give somebody like 10 minutes, give like eight you know what I mean? 6, 7 comics, 10 minutes to just crush. But that's what they do, like at the improvs in California. They're not like headline; they're mostly showcase shows. A lot of shows there, right?
It depends. The improv is kind of an exception to the rule because they have a booker that has like their paid regulars that perform there, but then they have independent producers that come in and they'll book like comics that aren't paid regulars, but headliners, and they bring it. Yeah. So it's a lot of independently produced shows there. Whereas like the Comedy Store is more like if you're not a paid regular, you're not going to perform there. I know they do independently produced shows there here and there. Laugh Factory, I'm not quite sure anymore, but California is just riddled with outdoor comedy shows and independently produced shows in like off the beaten path venues.
Right.
Downtown LA, rooftop, outside in somebody's backyard in a compound in Venice. Like it's kind of all over the map, and California has the weather that's conducive for that.
Yeah, you can get
Um,
away with that.
so
Yeah.
it's kind of turned into the Wild West these days. Like you don't really need a comedy club to, although there's some prestige behind it, you don't necessarily need a comedy club to have sustainability in
Yeah.
California.
I can understand why that irks many comedy club owners or comedy clubs, because I mean, when I got started, that's what I did. You wanted stage time, so we would find a room and have a show there. And some of the other comedy clubs are like, "Hey, what the fuck? I don't appreciate you doing that." I'm like, "Well, then give me more stage
Yeah,
time." What can I tell you? I'm going to work. And but you look at it from the eyes. I always try to think. I know how I think. So whenever I approach a situation that's challenging or to understand, I put myself in the other person's shoes, right? Well, if I have all that money, you know, if the improv's paying 45,000 a month in lease, a monthly lease fee for the building, you know, and people to feed and employees and all that shit, you understand why you don't want their business to be affected. But at the same time, that's what growth is about. Comedy. You want to have, if somebody is a TikTok comic book, they are funny, great. And even if they do, even if you get a following, I'm like, I don't have any problem if you have a following because that's what I'm battling for. I'm trying to get a following. Every one of my shows, I'm like, please follow me on Instagram. You know, which works pretty good. I got a few hundred people in the last few months just doing that. But you need a following. And if you have a following, like Les McGurty from McGurty said at one time in the seminar, he's like, "Look, I don't give a shit who you are. If you could put 500 people in my seats, you're going to get a weekend. You're going to, you're going to, I'm going to give, I don't care how
Yep.
funny you are. You know what I mean? And
Yep.
that's what it's about. So, but yeah, I wanted to point that out because, I find like, instead of there's so much shit to gripe about, this is my new me. This is the new me. I want to be like a little more positive and like, hey, I appreciate the way you're fighting for the comic. You
You?
know what I mean? Yeah, yeah, yeah. Enough. There's enough nonsense going around. Um, but it's good to see. Last time I think we were together was at when we came and did the run here in Florida with Blake with you, Blake Barté. We
Yeah.
did shows in Miami
Yeah.
and the Off the Hook and
You were, yep. You were kind enough to let me stay in your house with you and your lovely wife, and we hung out. We did a nice little run, right? We did, shit, I forgot what we did. Well, we did
well, I
Off
think
the Hook.
I think the last time we were together though, you were doing your own. You had a lot of shit going on. I ended up jumping in on that for a little bit, but yeah, there's a
Well, I
lot of
think
rooms
you're a
and
great comic, and yeah, I think you're a great comic, I consider you a great friend. And it's, look, in our industry, it's fun to work with people that you genuinely like. There's nothing worse than going on tour or working with a comic that you don't like or who doesn't like you. So now,
yeah,
because then you're just
yeah,
faking it.
yeah,
It's like, oh hey, it's like I'd rather just surround myself around people that are like-minded. We don't have to agree on everything.
right,
We don't have to eat or drink the same, food and beverage. We don't have to go to bed at the same time. It's not that kind of party, but I respect your comedy. I respect your hustle. You've always been super nice and hospitable to me. And how many comics will say, "Hey, come stay in my house"?
yeah.
Very few, very few.
Yeah. No,
So thank you for that.
oh man, our pleasure. It's night and just as I had to put that wall of eggs up between my wife. That's no joke. Don't fuck my daughter. Guy wakes up all the you ever hear that joke? The old joke.
No.
Farmer traveling salesman comes to a farmer's place. He's like, there's no hotels. I got nowhere to stay. He's like, well, you can stay in the spare room out there, but I want you to stay away from my hot daughter. And of course, daughter walks out. She's beautiful. So the farmer builds a wall of eggs between the extra room and the daughter's room. He goes, when I wake up tomorrow morning, there better not be one cracked egg in there. So the daughter's moaning and groaning like, "Oh, fuck me. Oh, I'm so wet." And the salesman's like, "I can't fucking take it anymore." And he breaks through the fucking wall of eggs, fucks the hell out of the daughter, was able to fix all the broken eggs, re-glues all the eggs together, puts the wall back together, thinks, "Oh my God, I'm going to be safe." Farmer comes in there with a shotgun. He's like, "Let's see." He pulls an egg off the fucking wall, cracks it, nothing in there. Gets another egg, cracks it, nothing in there. Cracks another egg, nothing in there. He takes a shotgun. The salesman's about to shit his pants. The farmer turns around and shoots the fucking chicken in the fucking off the face of the earth. I told you to stop wearing them condoms. Something like that.
I've never
Old
heard that.
joke.
Never heard that
Yeah,
story.
well, I'm glad I said it here. Um, why not? As I try to find my okay. So, any rate, so part of being on the Wake Up Late with Dougie show, we have some topics, and recently Dave Chappelle's show got canceled in Minnesota. I guess some people that worked for the theater complained and then caused more stuff, so his show got canceled. Um, I was feeling positive about some of this as I've been on the road. I've seen the limits, less wokeness. You know what I mean? I just feel like I spoke to some other comics. I think, fuck it, I'm going to say what I'm going to say. They don't like it. It's tough shit. But that's a damaging blow to comedy, especially to those people that can get a show canceled. You know?
I mean, that's very telling as to where we are, where we are as a society, specifically in America, when Dave Chappelle, arguably one of the biggest comics on the planet right now, and he's getting shows canceled because the staff doesn't like what he's saying. Look, I understand there's a fine line between, being an insult comic and hurting people's feelings as opposed to just, speaking your mind and having a point of view. Um, I think Chappelle's a genius and he's brilliant. Um, I think his storytelling and his approach to comedy is really slick. you're gonna offend. These days people are offended by the littlest things too.
Hmm.
Not saying that not saying Chappelle is being offensive in a little way. I mean, I get the whole LGBTQ community. I understand the transgender community, or I don't understand it, but I accept it. But all because you don't like somebody's opinion doesn't make them a bad person. And
Yeah.
then people say, "Oh, well, he's inciting hate and he's inciting, you know, um, damage to these people," and
Yeah.
it's really taking away from the whole idea of uh, creative and freedom of speech. And so it's a weird time to be an artist right now. I mean, Chris Rock got slapped by a fellow famous uh, artist,
Right.
at the Oscars. Dave Chappelle gets tackled on stage. You know, what was the other
You
incident
just
I heard about
you just
recently?
posted on Facebook the guitar player. I was going to say Tommy Tom Morello.
Yeah, Tom Morello, who's a friend of mine, and we just were in Chicago watching Rage Against the Machine. This guy's been in the business, God knows how many years. He's almost 60 years old.
It's
What
amazing when I
happened
heard
with that though is what happened with that incident though is if you watch the video very carefully, it looks like the guy who ran on stage was just trying to do a stage dive.
right.
And the security guard mistook him for somebody who was going to assault Tom Morello, and then he ran to tackle the guy. I guess he missed or slipped or something, and then
He
he
kind of
accidentally
bounced off the
tackled.
guy. Yeah, he kind of bounced off the guy as he ran
Yeah,
towards him, and then fell into Tom, knocked
right,
him over. Yeah.
right, right.
Yeah.
But to his credit, the security guard's credit, it probably looked as if he was going to tackle Tom Morello.
Who knows? Are you going to take that chance? Come on
And then
nowadays.
Tom popped back up and he started doing this stuff. I was like,
you had him
fuck
on
yeah, that's my
you
guy.
had him on your podcast, right? Didn't I? Didn't you have him on your
I did.
podcast? Yeah, I remember seeing
Yeah.
that one. Yeah.
Yeah, I've known Tom, gosh, 20 plus years. He's a great guy. Smart
Again,
guy,
again, a
awesome
survivor, like a
musician.
survivor. Play with. I think now he found his niche. On satellite radio, he has all the channels and the shit he
Yeah.
does on that. To me
Yeah.
as a musician, as a guitar player, I used to play when I was younger, but the shit, the noises, the sounds, he's originated out of that guitar. I mean, because you think about that. We're talking about comedy and levels of talent, right? But when you think about a musician, sometimes you can have somebody that can play the scales on a guitar. Oh my God, they're beautiful, amazing. They're flawless. Like you play flamenco guitar, and this kind of shit. But then you get a guy like Tom Morello who can make the guitar make a sound of like, what the fuck was that? Is that an alien ship?
Yeah.
You're like, you know what I'm
He's
saying? It's
he's
just
more of a yeah, he's more he even said it on my podcast and he'll admit it. He's more of a technician.
yeah,
He even said like his son Roman has an instinct and an ear for music, whereas Tom, he comes from a very kind of mechanical place. And it's
mm,
funny because like DJs are stealing his sounds. It used to be you steal the sound of a DJ. Now DJs are stealing his guitar riffs and sounds and shit
yeah,
like that. So no, he's way ahead of his time. Even Rage Against the Machine. I mean, they're selling out 20, 30, 40,000 seat, arenas now. And they've been broken up for
yeah. They haven't had an
what,
album in a
15
decade or
years?
two. Yeah, it's at least been a
Yeah, but
decade or
if you
two
listen
before
to
they had
the
an album.
lyrics, but if you listen to the lyrics
Timeless.
of their songs, and it's timeless. It's the way ahead of its time, actually. So,
Yeah.
yeah, I
Well,
was
that's
I was really moved to see them in Chicago and watch how
yeah,
just electrified the audience was. Yeah.
yeah, yeah, yeah. That's amazing. Yeah, that's staying power, right? I mean, you're right. It's relevant. It's like great bands, like Led Zeppelin. I mean, you can still listen to a band like Led Zeppelin and it's like, oh, and stuff like that. But I just like parting that out, and of course, put in a good word for me. Um, speaking of musicians, would you pay $4,500 to see Bruce Springsteen?
No.
No. Would there be
Nope.
any?
I,
Would there be any musician, Beethoven, anybody who's dead that you like that? Because would you like to see? Like maybe Eddie Freddie Mercury come back and sing with Prince? Sing with Prince. That would be a fucking concert. Prince
not
and
for $4,500.
yeah, amazing. But that was the question. That's what the tickets are going for, to see Bruce Springsteen.
I
Um,
mean, he's worth it. He's just not worth it for me.
oh yeah, okay, okay. So
You
if you
know,
had,
I,
let's
I
say,
think
if you had,
I think a lot of these musicians that are charging high ticket prices, they deserve it. They've been around, how many, God knows how many years, playing all over the world, putting out, album after album, winning
yeah,
awards. Yeah, I mean, but me personally, would I pay $4,500 to go watch somebody perform live? No, I'd rather go feed a small country with that money.
I was gonna say, as opposed to that, in lieu of that, what would you like to do? Like in other words, I won't do this, but this is what I'll do with my $4,500. You know,
Yeah, I would go. I would go. I'd give it to some sort of charity or some sort of cause. I would, you know, try to feed the homeless or starving kids. To me, it
mm,
just seems kind of gluttonous to go pay that much money when other people around the world are literally starving.
yeah,
But
yeah.
again, hey, if you make that kind of money and you want to spend that kind of money, that's on you. So be it.
Well, in getting us back to where we started this as comics, now as business people, right? The idea of a door deal. People say, let's talk about a door deal. And people are like, oh, okay, which basically puts the onus of responsibility on the comic of getting people there. Because that's when you're taking full responsibility of making sure the room's filled, right? And you're trying to get your honest cut of the business. I think it's an honest way to do it. So if you have the following to do it, and I was just going over this with somebody's booking shows. I go, if you charge $10 a person, you're going to get a certain quality of people. If you charge $20 a person, you're going to get a different class of people. They have to figure out what between about filling the room and the price and the economics of it, right? But if you have a 200 seater and you get $10, that's 2 grand, right? And if you get 20, that's 4 grand. So that's a big difference, in the essence of it. Because as a comic, let's say you're putting a show together, you go from $2,000 that one night to getting 4,000, let's say, because you're going to sell it. Now you can say, okay, who my opening act's going to be? How am I going to pay them? What kind of food? Where we? What hotel? If it's part of the hotel. Now you have a little bit.
Yeah,
All because of something that you wouldn't think is that big of a deal. The difference between $10 a ticket and $20 a ticket.
yeah. I mean, it's half the income or double, and depending on how many expenses you have, then you just kind of have to weigh your options.
Yeah.
That's why you'll see a
Uh,
lot of comics, a lot of headliner comics won't bring a lot of opening acts because they got to pay everybody. Typically a headlining comic will bring, like, if you're not a household name, you're going to bring maybe one opening act, or the club will pay them, a feature fee, which is $100 or whatever, plus food. But then you have like guys like Chappelle. Going back to Chappelle, he does Dave Chappelle and Friends. He always has at least half a dozen comics on his shows, it seems like.
right.
But and you can do, Kevin Hart. He does the same thing. He has the shit, whatever his Plastic Cup Boys.
Yeah.
He has like,
Yeah.
yeah, he has like 4 or 5 comics that open for him, and they're each probably doing 10 minutes or 15 minutes, whatever. But you know,
See.
it's. I come from the school of like wanting to help out, not necessarily help out, but include up and coming comics, because you never know how much they're going to add value to your show, and you never know where they're going to go. Like a lot of comics that used to open for me are big stars right now. And
Right.
it's kind of interesting how
Yeah.
Hollywood and the industry grappled on to these young comics, and then you kind of ask yourself, what the fuck did I do wrong, or who did I
Yeah.
piss
Yeah.
off, or maybe I'm not that funny, or maybe I missed a step, or I insulted somebody, or whatever. I had a comedy club owner tell me he didn't want to book me anymore because I was doing crowd work, I guess. Um, he said I was doing too much crowd work, and but I was getting laughs. But it's like,
Right.
all right, so like as long as I'm getting laughs, it doesn't matter what I'm saying or doing, as long as I'm getting laughs, right? Isn't that the whole point of it?
Yeah, that is a weird thing. Crowd work, and I was just talking about crowd work because the stuff I'm putting on social media is mostly crowd work, so people can't just steal it because it's just crowd work. for those
Yeah.
types of bits. But it's amazing. I know as an opening act, you don't want to do much crowd work in front of the headliner because if the headliner wants to do it, you got to leave it up to them, or at least explain, hey, do you mind if I do the crowd work I do, um, and stuff like that. It's weird how clubs, like bookers, like I've had that in the past where they because they want to see, especially when you're coming out and auditioning. To me, that's the only time I've ever felt is like if you're auditioning, that don't come out and do 30 minutes of crowd work, uh, but if you're good at it, man, if you're good at it, you know, it just pisses off the comics who don't. How many comics do you know that are working on crowd work and just like, look, man, you'd have an easier time, climbing Mount Everest than you will ever have fucking being good at crowd work. You know, I mean,
I used to have comics at the Comedy Store complain about me that I did too much crowd work. And it's like, first of all, it's the fucking Comedy Store. And Mitzi Shore always prided herself on booking comics who, funny's funny. It doesn't matter what you're doing. Um, but comics who can't do crowd work, they're not like witty or quick enough. They get intimidated by comics who are quick on their feet. I'm not a good joke writer. I think I'm a pretty good storyteller. I think I'm a pretty good comedian, but I think I'm really, really great at crowd work. I always pride myself on that. You've seen me do it 1,000 times. And I think
yeah,
that's just a lot more fun than doing jokes that you've been
yeah,
doing over and over. I was just at the
yeah,
Denver Comedy Works a couple weeks ago, and I did 5 shows,
great room.
and I was doing awesome room. I was doing 45-minute sets, but I was doing like 20, 25 minutes of crowd work. And it came across because, the crowd's like right up on you, and
Yeah,
it's a very
low
intimate kind of
ceilings,
vibe.
intimate. Yeah,
And that's the best place to try and do crowd work because everybody's kind of in on it. But a lot of comics, if you're working with them, especially if a headliner has to follow you, they always say, "Oh, don't do any crowd work." It's like, well, then why don't you go do comedy in a closet, man? Like,
yeah. I've had that told to me, before, and I've been like, well, why don't you just pay attention and tag it? I mean, because I don't care. Like I've never said to anybody when I headline if they've done crowd work. I say, hey, you do a lot of crowd work, but I won't tell them not to do crowd work because I watch the show, and that's just data. That's just
well,
information for
yeah,
me. You know, that's
you're able to witness what people are laughing
yeah,
at. So by
yeah,
sitting in the back of the room and watching what people are actually laughing at gives
yeah,
you the barometer and the data to go up and try to skate around that or navigate in and around it. I mean, when I was at the Comedy Store when I was first starting out, I would follow on any given night Eddie Griffin, Joe Rogan, Carlos Mencia, Andrew Dice Clay, Louis C.K. Like I was following some of the biggest comics in the world back then, but I never like it never like I was just kind of fearless with it. I was like, all right, well they
yeah,
have their point of view and I have mine. So I don't care what the fuck they say, you know? And it's just
yeah.
become kind of like a trademark for me that I just like going up there, experimenting, having fun. It doesn't always work. I'm not that
Right.
great at it, but I think I'm pretty good at it. Yeah.
Yeah. No, and I think that's the fear of most comedy club owners because you're right. When it comes to crowd work, it can either go incredibly well or sometimes it can go horribly wrong. It has that aspect
Hmm.
of risk in it. So, again, when you have the skin in the game, I guess that's why they get a little pissed. But like
Yeah.
you said, I go, I was have here in South Carolina, Greenville area, a lot of great young comics, and they want to work on it. I'm like, look, don't force it. Crowd work has to happen. Anybody who I've seen who's done great crowd work like you, and you know, it happens. It's not like like you're like trying. Where are you from? You're not pushing it. It's usually something that you feel from the audience, and you look down and you say something, and boom, it's just like I just posted something on my TikTok at Funny Fiduciary, and of course my Instagram at Dougie Dangerous. I asked, some woman. I go. I said, oh, I love weed. I love coming out here to this part of the country where it's legal. And she goes, welcome to Oregon. And we were in Washington State at the time. So I was like, we were in fucking Oregon, lady. Have another edible. You know what I mean? But that's you can't write. What I mean? That's funny as shit. You can now. I got to spend at least 2 minutes with this person. You know what I mean? You can't just let
Sure.
that go. So it just
Yeah.
Yeah. And like saying, if you are a comic who gets mad at somebody who does crowd work before you, just get better. Just get better.
Yeah.
Be better. Be better as my muscle friend who's like 50 something years old. He keeps posting stuff on Facebook. Look at me. Look at me. I go, yeah, but you didn't have pizza like I did last night. You didn't have that cheesecake. All right. I don't know if I want to talk about that. Oh, this is a funny story. I posted this in the outline I sent, but Tony Dow. For those of you who don't know who Tony Dow was, I don't know if you grew up in the States. You didn't, but there was a show called Leave It to Beaver. You ever see that
He
TV show,
passed
Leave
away
It to
today,
Beaver?
right?
Well, that's the interesting thing. He didn't. He's in hospice. He's like, I'm not
Oh,
dead.
interesting.
I'm not dead
Oh,
yet.
okay.
Yes, you are.
It's
It's like
all
a
it's
fucking
all over
Monty
the internet
Python.
that he
Yeah.
died.
They just posted that he's actually in hospice. That the publicist says he's not dead yet. So if you guys want to bring back a Leave It to Beaver sequel, or you know, he's still available for a few hours. But yeah, it's amazing,
Ouch.
how that shit happens. I don't know if you heard the other news. Nancy Pelosi is going to be visiting Taiwan. You spent time in Asia, in Malaysia, and those areas.
Yeah.
So this is the,
Hmm.
but what's going on between China and Taiwan. China is basically suggesting they have a sovereign right to the island, and Taiwanese are going fuck you. And now Nancy Pelosi wants to go. I want to go. I want to go. I want to go to Taiwan. She wants to go to Taiwan, and China says, "You come here, and we're going to fuck things up." Should Nancy Pelosi go to Taiwan? Man,
I mean, what is she going to accomplish?
a photo
Not
op.
not to be like a not to be a downer on it, but it's like everybody wants to be a hero. And what is she going to do that's going to change the mind or minds of the Chinese or the Taiwanese for that matter? So it's like, you know, unless like an invasion happens and there's some sort of, you know, radical movement, that's a different case. But, is she going to go over there and play diplomat and really help the cause? I don't think so.
Well, here's the problem now. Now that she announced she was going to go there, it legitimizes the Taiwanese government. So if we're going to be an ally of them, that's what they'd say has benefited. And what they should do is not only her being a Democrat, she should take, let's say, maybe McCarthy with her, the Republican minor, leader in the House. Take them and be like show unity. Like, hey, we're here. You know what I mean? Because it's only a matter of time before Taiwan is invaded by China. They're already showing they're going to do it. So but it's interesting because now what happens is now if they don't go, it's like you just call now you're a pussy. Now America now they have to go. She has to go. Like not otherwise
Mm.
the Chinese are gonna anyway. That's a little bit of our global macro part of the show, everybody. If you you're right. I gotta show you
I've
this.
learned to stay away from politics.
Yeah, well, I wish I did too. I kind of stop, and every once in a while I come out, and then a comedy club owner unfriends you on Facebook. You're like, fuck. God damn it. But nevertheless, here's an interesting to end our topic section of the show. I wanted to share this video with you. Heroic moment, which is also as you watch the video. Okay, here's a baby. I don't know if the baby crawls out or is being placed out the window. Speaking of China, baby falls, lands on a fucking umbrella or something. Look at it. The baby's amazing strength. And it falls and somebody catches. Look at the kid. You can't see it, but the people caught him. Look at him, caught the baby. Baby's still fine for falling 4 flights, and this guy caught you after 1 flight. I don't know. Do you think the baby was pushed out the window? Maybe it was a girl. The Chinese family was like, we want a boy. They pushed him out the window. I mean,
I don't know. It's really kind of hard to tell because the video is too like pixelized or
yeah,
unpixelized, I guess is the word, or pixelized. Yeah, I couldn't
yeah.
tell. Who knows? They left the window open. The baby crawled out. Like, I don't know. I fell off
I
a
don't know.
when I was a couple months old. My mom told me this. I don't remember. I fell off a 2-story balcony and landed on the concrete and survived.
Wow.
But my mom had the window open. I crawled out and slipped through the crack through the iron rods or
Yeah.
whatever, and I literally fell to. That wasn't 4 stories. Like that super baby, but I think
Well,
too, babies have, because their bones are so fresh and nimble. I think they can recover a lot quicker than adults.
absolutely, you're right, Doctor Ahmed. The baby at the early stages, a year or two old, they're probably a little
Anytime,
younger. They're
anytime.
their bone, their skeletal structure is still cartilage. It's not the brittleness of
Right.
white bone. It's usually more like cartilage. That's why you probably bounced like a basketball that day. You probably won't
I
remember that
did.
because you had severe. You probably bounced. See, that's why you bounce back all the time. See what your mother did. Your family allowed you to have that personality, Ahmed, where you bounce back because you learned how to bounce back at an early age
Well,
when you hit the earth.
I think that's how I got into stand up comedy.
Yeah,
I hit my head on the ground so hard it just made me go, dang, I'm funny.
yeah. Here's a great business to be in. All right.
Right.
Well, that being said, it's time for the news as a joke. Here's where we go over some of the news stories from around the world, and we make fun of them because sometimes there's nothing else to do but make fun of them. But here's a story: trans woman now in men's prison after impregnating two women. This young lad says, I identify as a woman, then whipped his dick out and made two women pregnant. I would say he's a man. Um, and the prison said, you know what? Let's send him to a male prison where he'll also be having sex, but we're guessing he'll no longer be a top. Um, I know you don't want to get into these stories much, Ahmed, but you think it was a good
No, I
idea
mean, I
for.
think, well, first of all, and look, I don't want to, it's a touchy topic, so I want to tread
Thank you,
carefully,
Ben.
but,
Move the story.
I think, pick a lane. If you're going to, be a woman, be a woman. If you're going to be a man, be a man. But, I guess my question is the two women that got pregnant by the trans woman, like what the fuck were they thinking? Like they're just as guilty. So,
Well,
and was it, do they put the trans woman in a male prison, or do they put her, him slash him, they in protective custody? Prison politics is very, it's a very
yeah.
like, layered and delicate topic. So I don't know. I don't even know what state was that in.
Let me go back to the story. Well, here's an interesting part of the story. Although he did get two of the women in the prison pregnant, he did no crowd work, so he was considered a a good inmate. Let's see here. Um, a
Because
river for
each
transgender women.
state
New
has
Jersey was
have their
it
own.
was in New
Yeah,
Jersey.
each state has their own sort of rules and jurisdictions and what they what
Yeah,
applies and doesn't apply. So I don't know. I don't know the prison politics on that. So I don't want to comment too hard. But I guess the women that got pregnant, you know, they were in on it. So
yeah. Well,
I mean,
well, there were
it
inmates.
doesn't say that they raped, he raped, or she raped them, right?
It was consensual. Yeah, it was definitely consensual, which
Yeah.
is that's usually when you have consensual sex in a prison. If a tree falls in the woods, does anybody hear it? Um, all right, let's move on to our next story. Chess playing robot breaks boy's finger in Moscow in the middle of a tournament. Is this the beginning of Skynet takeover? It says
Yeah. I
here.
mean,
Now, just
if
just
you're
a
gonna
little more
fuck
on the
with
story.
robots, if you're gonna fuck with robots, just understand there might be consequences.
Yes, yeah. You can't go to the robot. Why'd you do that? Um, there's no why.
Right.
Uh,
Yeah, robot has no feelings.
but this is a young Sergei Lazarev said an incident occurred in Moscow's chess. The robot broke the boy's finger. Now the boy was like taunting the robot. He was in Russian. He was saying, "Gustan Vik and what means you rusty bolt, unknowing dumbass." Um, but he was trying to rush the robot after each move, and the robot basically broke his fucking finger, grabbed his hand, and I mean that was amazing. You know what I mean? Which I don't know. I don't know if this is going to affect that the sex robots. I don't know if you ever seen any of those real like those fake robots now. They're the women's sex dolls. They look real and everything. People are
Uh,
marrying them and everything. Marrying when you go to a wedding, when a guy your buddy's marrying a robot or like a sex doll, you want to make sure you sit on the right side of the church. Because the people are going to be sitting on one side, and the farm equipment and the vacuum cleaners and the fucking iRobot's on the other side. Yeah, it's just trying to make it funny. But yeah, so
Yeah,
but
I don't
yeah,
really have a
so
comment on that because I think technology's taking over, and you know, if you're
did you
gonna
remember hearing this?
fuck around
You
with
remember hearing this?
technology,
You
then
remember hearing the story about the guy who worked at Google who got released or suspended from the company for a while because he said their artificial intelligence, like IBM has Watson, all these major companies have their own version that they're developing of artificial intelligence, a sentient type being, and the thing became aware of itself because he says, "What would happen if you turned me off? I wouldn't like that." That fucking thing told the guy that, like, I wouldn't like you to turn me
yeah, I
off. You
mean
know?
they make movies about it. Wasn't iRobot kind of about that?
Yeah,
There's been a
yeah.
couple movies. Yeah.
Well, yeah, of course.
Yep.
Yeah,
Art imitating
it's like
life, life imitating art.
that's right. Uh, I just think it's a matter of time before aliens land. To be honest with you,
They're already
uh,
here.
yeah. You believe that school of thought? You think they've come here and they've already been with us for generations?
I am a bit of a conspiracy theorist when it comes to that, and I believe they're already walking amongst us
Oh yeah,
or living
yeah. I
amongst
believe it.
us. Yeah.
You believe in like what do they call them? Shapeshifters. There's the ones that are like shapeshifters. There's lizards. There's
Yeah, yeah,
tall whites.
reptilians. Yeah, yeah,
Yeah, I'm
maybe.
all for. I believe it. I believe it. Uh, is this the one? Okay. Here's a story. Speaking of space, astronauts are warned not to masturbate in space, as it could cause other women on the space station to get pregnant. I mean, I don't know if you ever like
How
had
does that
sex in a pool.
happen?
Well, well, because you're in no gravity, right? You're in what is it? Zero gravity. So usually on Earth, if you have an orgasm, it lands somewhere. Hopefully, a towel or tissue well placed. But if you're out in space, it's kind of like if you make love in the pool, that goes everywhere. You don't know where that thing goes. It looks like a jellyfish squad coming.
Yeah,
I
but
mean,
don't these space shuttles have like cameras that are rigged around the whole fucking uh,
yeah, we seem to
uh,
have, we seem to
fuselage?
have an, we seem to have an unidentified object floating through the space capsule. Who's been jerking
No, but
off?
I'm saying, isn't each room rigged with cameras so NASA can see what the fuck everybody's doing?
Well, yeah, you would right. Is there a room? Is there a
I
privacy
guess
room?
unless you go to the bathroom, like how does that work? How do you go to the bathroom on a spaceship? Not a spaceship,
Yeah, because
a what do you call it? A rocket or whatever.
yeah, like a space
Space
lab, space
fuselage.
station.
Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, listen. First of all, why can't the astronaut masturbate in his own private quarters as long as he's got the door shut? I mean, it's like it's going to float out. But I guess they're saying even I don't know with the air system, maybe the sperm, the women could be, and then what's the likelihood of the women being naked? Or just are people walking around the space station naked? Is that what's happening up in space? Is what our tax dollars are bringing? Just nude orgies up there? And it's odd that the Russians won't don't want to do. The Russians just announced they don't want to. They're not going to have anything to do with the space station anymore. They're not partnering with us anymore. Dunsky, we're Dunsky. So yeah. So if
Done.
you're ever in space, please, Ahmed, if you're ever in space, please keep it in your pants.
I'll
Don't
do
want to
my
impregnate
best.
somebody. Yeah. Um, doctors in Egypt. You're familiar with Egypt. Extract mobile phone from patient's stomach.
I mean, I'm curious as to know like, who the patient is. Did
Mhm.
he or she, was it a woman or a man?
Doctors in Egypt removed a mobile phone from the stomach of a patient who swallowed the device several months ago. Doctors carried X-ray. Doesn't tell us if it's a man or woman.
It could have been somebody. It could have been somebody that was like being arrested or prosecuted for something, and they had evidence in their phone, so they swallowed it. I don't know.
Hmm. They have pictures of Hunter
I
Biden
mean,
smoking crack.
it didn't look like a big phone. It looked like a pretty small, like flip phone, right?
Yeah, yeah. It's definitely not a razor or one of the old phones, but it's one of those things. You know what I mean? Like you're right. Like maybe the guy's like talking to maybe the guy's on the phone. He keeps getting calls from like from like phone solicitors. Stop calling me. Stop calling me. You know what? You ain't calling me again. He's fucking shoved it down his
What
throat.
kind of
Or
what
his
kind
wife.
of what kind of accent was that?
I don't know. It was my attempt at some sort of fucking. I'm not Russell Peters over here, dude. I'm not gonna. You know what I'm saying? I'm not gonna be giving you the fucking perfect dialect. But but yeah, I mean the guy. You know, he has an ex girlfriend. His wife kept calling. He's at the strip club. He's trying to look at some Bangladesh pussy. I don't know. And he wants to have some fun. She keeps calling me. And so he eats the fucking phone. Um, which is interesting because it's one thing to swallow a phone and try to explain what you're going to do with that. But I think we have a story from the other show we got at Ben. Here's a man in India who had a hard time telling his wife why he wasn't feeling too hungry, was a bit constipated. He forgot to tell his wife that he shoved a bottle up his ass. And fucking
Yeah, that's
now,
intense.
we actually did this story on my buddy's podcast, and he had a great point. He said, "If you're ever gonna, guys, I get it. Everybody's freaky. Everybody has their own thing, and I'm not here to tell you what to do and not do. But if you're gonna shove something up your ass, you may want to tie a string to it. You know what I mean? Right? You have a plan, like an exit strategy. Some people call that an exit strategy. I call it a removal strategy. But you're not into putting shit up your ass, are you, Ahmed?
No,
Yeah, I didn't think so.
no.
Yeah, I mean, not a problem for me. I don't need that. Some of my single friends tell me, oh, that's the big move girls do now. There's a comic I was working with that says, yeah, man, girls today, because he's single, he's like 27. That's the first thing they do. They start, going a little smoke them slow on you. And then they got to go and they got to try to put the finger up there. Like, what is this, a contest? You guys trying to see how many guys you can peg? Any rate, I love this story. You're still single? You don't have you found a loved one yet, Ahmed?
No, yeah, that's correct. I'm still single.
Good. Good for
I
you.
think I'll be single for a while. We'll see.
Really?
I'm not
Now, is
really.
this
I'm not
because,
really in the market.
yeah, is it that you're disheartened with the availability of certain women, or you just figure it's just you and you don't want to bother?
I'm just like. It seems like for me personally, as I'm getting older, it seems like it's a lot more work to have a girlfriend or a wife. Like it's just a lot. And call me selfish. I just I don't know. Maybe I just haven't met the right one. So we'll see. This story, the saga continues.
Well, I heard you can meet nice women in prison. Um, here's a great story. Woman woman sues man for $10,000 after a bad date. Unloads on the judge during the hearing. Even
Yeah, I
Michigan
mean,
woman.
how bad was the date?
Well, I think he didn't even
You
show up.
know,
Like a woman. Let's see. The lawsuit transferred out of court. Blah blah blah. Kashante. What's her name? Kashante from Michigan. Filed a suit against Richard Jordan. Let's call him Dick. Back in 22, accusing him of intentional infliction of emotional distress caused by the date. I don't think I've ever been on a date that cost me $10,000.
I mean,
I mean,
maybe
she probably.
he said something insulting to her. I don't know. Who
Uh,
knows? Did she win the lawsuit?
no, she even tried to she even tried to correct the judge. I I love these fucking Google genius. I love when people say you don't know what the fuck you're talking about. He's a fucking judge. I think he knows what the fuck he's talking about. During the pair's 10-minute virtual hearing with Judge Herman Markable Jr. in Flint, Michigan, Jordan remained relatively quiet aside from speaking on how the case was a waste of the court's time. Judge Marable Jr. seemed to agree with him and questioned whether Short was in a proper courtroom to handle the case. Maybe you should go to the courtroom of social media. She argued that she was and accused Jordan of committing perjury as a result of misleading statement he put on a document filed on the judge. So now she's determining if evidence is good or bad. That might be why you're not going to get married, Ahmed. I mean, I got if for any reason I happened to be single. I don't think I'd ever marry again. There is no way. I don't think I'd ever, you know what I mean? Because everybody says you want to have somebody around to help you when you're older and you be a partner with and take care of each other and shit. But fuck, I'm hoping I have enough money to pay somebody to do it. You know what I mean? I feel the same way
It's
about a
not for
lifetime.
everybody.
Yeah. I mean, listen, you get, you want to pay for something, you pay for it, get it over with. So, all right.
Yeah.
Here's a story. Man pulls gun on woman who didn't thank him for holding the door open. I'm a gentleman, bitch.
Yeah.
I mean, I have a
I
friend of
mean,
mine that hates that. In other words, he holds the door open for people. If they don't say thank you or gesture to him, he turns into a fucking like bipolar asshole and shuts the door. Oh, fuck you then. I'm like, well, are you doing this for Are you, that's an act. That's an unconditional act. You're doing it because you're kind, right? You're a gentleman. You're not doing it because you expect something from it. You're doing it because that's what you expect of yourself, right? Isn't that why you do
well,
nice things?
chivalry is not dead with this guy. But I will say this: if I open the door for somebody, if they don't say thank you, all I do is say, "You're welcome," and they always turn around and
Yeah.
go, "Oh, you're welcome. Thank you."
Yeah. Yeah.
So I don't know. I don't hold it open as much as I used to because a lot of people just assume that you work at the fucking place and you're going to
Yeah.
open the door.
Yeah, yeah, and
So
then and sometimes and then I feel bad when somebody's holding the door for me and my fat ass is walking. I'm like, oh fuck, you're gonna make me hurry up. You know what I mean? I gotta fucking now pick up the pace. You know, like thanks for the cardio workout, buddy. Um, yeah, but that's it. Like I've tried the last week or so. I've been on the road. People did it for me. I did it for them. It's just you just do it. You know what I mean? But I get it. Sometimes usually if you're uptight and you're single and not getting laid a lot, you're not married, then you'll say fucking, "You're welcome." Like, I'm only kidding. Just busting your balls. You're probably getting laid a lot more than I am right now. To be honest,
not
it's
true.
been a while.
Not
No.
true.
Hmm.
No.
Um, are women in California different? In other words, is there a lot more? Is it good attitude, bad attitude? What is it?
Uh, I don't know. I think California, specifically Los Angeles, because you're kind of in this bubble of like delusional make believe.
Mm,
Everybody wants to be a supermodel or a influencer. But what I'm realizing is it's kind of been this like global phenomenon sensation where every woman needs a filter on their pictures. Every woman wants to be adored. Every woman, and rightfully so. Like women, we can't live with them. We can't live without them. But I think that LA, for some reason, has a little bit more of a superficiality around it,
yeah,
and
yeah,
a materialism around it. But then you look at like Miami, you look at Dubai, you
mm,
look at there are parts in like Texas where I've been to where like women just they're very much about you know what kind of makeup are they wearing, how expensive was your purse, who you're going to take me out to dinner and pay for it. Uh, there seems to be a I feel like the pendulum swung a little bit with
mm,
how men and women, and then men were just as guilty because we glorify it and we embrace it and we enable it. Um, and then that's where disagreements happen. That's where arguments happen. That's where divorce happens. A woman might want something that a man doesn't want, and vice versa. And you just disagree and you disagree. But
yeah,
California, LA in general, it's definitely a hard town to date in. Like
yeah,
I've messed around with these dating apps and I've met women out and about, and nobody says hi in Los Angeles. Almost never. Like you can walk by somebody, hey neighbor, hi, unless you know the person. Typically, strangers aren't going to smile back or
really,
say hi back.
yeah.
But I
That's
find that
those.
different in other states. I find
Yeah.
like
Well, there's
different
definitely.
in like
I was gonna say it's different
I was
culture.
going to
Like
say
since
like
we South. I was saying when we
go
moved to
ahead.
South Carolina, everybody says hi. Everybody.
Yeah,
Hey, you're driving your car, but hey, your neighbors all like,
yeah,
hey, what's up?
yeah.
You're right. I agree with that
There
100%.
there are
Especially.
pockets there are pockets of California and LA that have that, but it's really rare. I think people get nervous of starting up a conversation with a stranger.
Yeah.
because everybody's thinking about their day, their schedule. I got to be at this place at this time. I got to pick up my kids at this place. I got to be at this appointment. So there's a sense of like, oh, if I say hi to this person, they either want something from me or they want to have a conversation,
Yeah.
and it goes nowhere. Then you just wasted 10, 15 minutes of your day. So I don't know what it is, but I think it's about the materialism. We're also by the beach.
Yeah.
We're by the ocean, so a lot of people don't have time to stop and say hi by the beach. They're rollerblading, riding their bikes, surfing,
Mm. Yeah.
scooters, whatever the case.
Or they got water on the brain.
Yeah.
One of the things I did notice a lot with people of all types in our current society. It's something you just said. Like people like are in their mind are thinking like preemptively thinking what something could be or will be. In other words, why is this person asking me this? Why would I do this? And instead of that keeps them from action. Like you know what I mean? Like how many times are you having a conversation? You say something like, "Why did you say that? Did you say that because of this?" I'm like, like why don't you try to really like in other words people's comprehension skills. It's like there's a major issue between what people hear and what their mind inside their inner voice is telling them they're hearing, and it's like this conflict instead of just adapting and trusting, right? I think it's a lack of trust, all kinds of these types of things that keep people from like, why did you say that? I think you said that you said to me was this. I love when people tell me, no, you said this to me. I'm like, bitch, you going to tell me what the fuck I said? You know what I mean? I know what I said. I'm the one who originated the thought. You know what I'm saying? I originated the thought. I spoke it. You know what I mean? There's a reason I say things. I got in a discussion with somebody recently and they're like, well, you said that. I go, no, I know what I said. And they're like, well, I go, listen, I don't just say things. I'm not reading a teleprompter somebody else provided. I'm saying the things that I'm planning on trying to I know the normaculture of what I'm trying to say. Don't tell me what I'm saying. Your interpretation is completely fucking off. And they question you, the author. They're questioning the author. It's like going up, to the wall, reading the Walden and going to Thoreau. You didn't say that. So I'm just saying, a little frustration there.
Well, I think it also has to do with what's going on with that person, what's going on with them that day, what's going on
Yeah.
with them that week, that month, in their life, what happened in their childhood. So I try to give people the benefit of the doubt because you just never know what's going on in somebody's
Yeah.
mind, you know.
Well,
So if
you're
I say hi
exactly
to
right.
somebody, they don't say hi back. I don't get offended or insulted. I just go, all right, well,
Right.
they don't want to say hi back, so this is what it
Yeah.
is.
Yeah. And that's the thing you should do. Who knows? Whatever it is you think it is, there's probably a million other reasons that's why that happened.
Yep.
What I want to know is how somebody
Yeah.
who works at the Weather Channel put this thing out. But this is, we're going to, Ben, I think if we can watch the video of this, but a racial slur was broadcast on the Weather Channel. This is a great story. I mean, again, the Weather Channel.
Yeah, I saw
Um,
that.
you see, I think, and so we don't got the video queued, huh, Ben? Um, yeah, okay. But basically, it said, I think, and forgive me, I'm only going to say this because this isn't TV and I can, but it's like same day. So I think it said something like the same day niggas or something like that. I don't remember. But who you at the Weather Channel? You know, somebody had a scene that. Like, hey, did anybody look this thing over? They're gonna put the expression "my niggas" on there. I mean, there's these clothing companies, right, that had said the smartest monkey in the barrel, and they put it on a young black kids, wear the shirt. I mean, the people just don't think. It's just so fucked up. I don't know. Somebody at the
Yeah, I
Weather
don't
Channel
know.
is going to be
Sometimes, well, no, things like that sometimes will just slip through the cracks. So it could have been an intern. It could have been somebody who hacked into their computer system. Who knows? But
like,
it's
yeah.
not okay.
It could be Russian disinformation. Our last story.
Maybe.
Um, if I can get it here, of course not. Hold on. There we go. This is great. Mexican scam loan apps will edit your face onto X-rated photos and send them to your family. Company that's trying to get people, borrow money. What they'll do is,
Hmm.
if you read the story, they take it. They also ask you, along with your social security and all your bills and all your history, they ask you for your phone, your phone contacts. Now, listen, I don't care what I'm doing. If anybody asks me for my phone contacts, no, there's no, I've been trying to hide those from my wife for years. So you're not getting them, right? There's no way. But these people said, yeah, go ahead. So what does this company do? They take images from porn and they put your face on it. That's the thing. It could never happen to me. I can imagine them sending this to my wife. Your husband was in a porn with these women. You should. And that looks at the dick. Go, that ain't my husband. That's not him. If it is him, please bring him back to me. You know, you ever been in a scam?
Yeah,
You ever
there's a
been
lot of
scammed by?
scam. Yeah, my Instagram page
Oh, that's
recently
right.
got hacked because I sent somebody sent me a link and said if you don't, what was it they said? You violated community standards and you have copyright issues with music that you've posted, and if you don't click this link right away, your account's going to be deleted. So of course, like a fucking dummy, click and then boom, wiped out. So
Wow.
and then I've had my Facebook fan page deleted. I just got kicked off of Twitter recently for something I liked. Like I liked a tweet that somebody posted, I think is what it was. And again, violation of community standards. And so it's like, it's all kind of going to shit, you know? And so I just take social media with a grain of salt because you can get hacked and scammed just like that without even knowing it, you know?
Yeah. Yeah. I almost fell for that myself. I remember I took a few, like I got the thing for Facebook. Like it sent me through Facebook. Through when I'm on Facebook, it sent me this thing like, your account's being deleted unless you reply now and put a case,
Right.
whatever the fuck it was. So I just got out of that. I didn't even read. I went back to the pages. I'm like, all my pages are fine. There's nothing, I mean, I before I reacted, but that shit can scare the shit out of you. He's like, fuck you. What are you talking about? And you press the damn button. Next thing you don't have Instagram anymore.
Yeah. I mean,
And
I didn't have that many followers. I had like 13,000, which is, whatever, it is what it is. But they also they were trying to extort me. They said if you pay us $500, we'll get your account back. And I was like, I don't negotiate with terrorists, but thank you.
yeah.
Keep it.
Meanwhile,
Keep the page.
it's a 14-year-old living in his, drinking a Slurpee as he's fucking people on the internet.
Yeah.
Well, there you go. That's all we have time for here on the Wake Up Late with Dougie show. Hope you learned something today. I hope you laughed.
Hilarious.
Am I right?
What's next for you? What dates do you have coming up? Tour
Oh
dates.
man, I'm going to be local shows this week. I'm going to do something here in Fayetteville, North Carolina, at Patty's Irish Bar.
Nice.
Thursday, headlining it, and Saturday I'm going to be at the Flat in Greenville, South Carolina. Here, opening for Carlos Valencia, local comic, traveling comic. It'll be fun. Then I'll be in Florida doing some shows in August. Tavolino's. We're only doing shows at Tavolino's quarterly now, only 4 a year.
Oh, really?
Which
How come?
as the book, um, just because of all the COVID interruptions and everything, they said, you know what, let's just commit to doing these, and then if things get back, at least we're in a rhythm. We still have everything function, which I'm okay with.
Well,
I'm like,
send the owner my best. He was always really nice to me.
absolutely, and so that's going to be August 12th. I think we're going to be there, or August 10th on a Wednesday. Greg Hahn is the headliner. So go to Tada
I love
Productions on
Greg. He's
Facebook and stuff.
hilarious.
Yeah, I've never seen him, so I'm excited about this. But how about you? What's coming up?
He's a ball of energy.
Yeah.
What do I have coming up? I am doing. Well, I started my show at Sea Legs in Huntington Beach, outside on the beach. We're revamping that, our comedy summer series, every Friday. If you go to just go to my Instagram, Ahmed Comedy, or just go to sealegsatthebeach.com. Every Friday we have free comedy. Doing the Ontario Improv August 10th. And then I have some tour dates coming up. New Jersey Bananas Comedy Club August 26, 27, and Seattle coming up in like mid-September. Seattle, what was it? Seattle Comedy Club. September 16, 17. I'm doing Dallas Fort Worth Hyenas September 30th, October 1st. And that's it for now.
There you go.
Yeah.
Find out more dates by following Ahmed, comedian, on Instagram. You can follow me at Dougie
I'm at Ahmed
Dangerous.
Comedy.
Ahmed Comedy on Instagram. Yeah, the other person,
That's
if you
right.
follow it, you'll get a ticking device mailed to your home. Um, but well, thank you so much for being on the show, my friend. Love you, buddy. Been always thinking about you. And
Love you too, man.
you got it. And stick around before we go. But to everybody else, don't forget, please follow us. We need you guys to go to subscribe to our YouTube channel for the Wake Up Late with Dougie show. We want to get enough people so we can customize our own, URL and all that shit. And we are going to be making a transition. The shows will be eventually posted on YouTube, and some of the clips and bits will be on our Facebook fan page, because I don't want to have Mark Zuckerberg get any more of my money. And besides that, like I said, I'll be in Patty's Irish Bar this Thursday if you're in Fayetteville, North Carolina, and at the Flat in Greenville, South Carolina on Saturday. Until next week, everybody, I'll have John DeRest on the show. Very funny comedian out of New York, now in LA. Stick to that. Be back with us, and we'll be sure to attempt to make you laugh and forget all the other shit that's going on. Goodbye, everybody. We'll see you next time.